Father Rick here. 27th Sunday in Ordinary Time, Year B, takes us back to the beginning, to the story of Genesis, to Adam, the first man created. He's in the Garden of Eden. God gives him this garden of paradise. We can imagine him with beautiful rivers and fruit trees and mountains. He's got it all, but the poor thing is lonely. And so God decides to make him some animals, maybe, give him a little helpmate. It's a nice gesture. I just wonder how it went down. What was the first animal he brought to him? Maybe a porcupine. He's like, here you go, Adam. Here's a little something. It's got, kind of a snout. It's got some spikes. There you go. Maybe this will be a little partner for you. And Adam looks at it and like, yeah, you can't really cuddle with a porcupine. What else you got, God? God maybe takes him to the sea. Okay. Shows him this beautiful creature. It's shiny, it's bluish, it's silverish, it's slick, and it's a dolphin. And Adam's like, oh yeah, that's nice, but he's like grinning at me the whole time and making that that little laughing noise. Not feeling it. What else you got? God thinks, how about a bird? Everybody loves birds from the sky. They fly. I'll give you a bird almost as big as you, got a hooked beak. I call it a buzzard. I like to give it to you, but he might pluck your eyes out in the middle of the night if you're not careful. But other than that, if you can get past that, this one could be the helpmate for you. And Adam's like, yeah, that's not going to work. What else you got? Finally, God casts a deep sleep on Adam. He's out cold, and he takes a rib, and from the rib forms woman. Adam wakes up, and he's like, yes, this is it. Bone of my bone, flesh of my flesh. She's so beautiful. I will call this one woman, and she will be the partner. And so the two become one flesh. They're given the command, be fertile and multiply. And we have this story from Genesis to teach us lessons. Now, a lot of people disregard the book of Genesis because of this like mythological storytelling language. But there are deep theological truths in the book of Genesis that are valid for all time. And how do we know that? Well, because of today's gospel. Today, in the gospel, Jesus himself goes back to the book of Genesis to prove his point. It's a question of marriage and divorce, and they're trying to trip Jesus up, and they ask him, is divorce allowed? Moses gave us a decree of divorce, and Jesus listens and says, okay, that's what Moses gave you, but even before his time, in the book of Genesis, we see that God's original plan for creation was that man and woman, male and female, would come together, become one flesh, and what God has brought together, let no one divide. So Jesus goes back even beyond the time of Moses, beyond the time of Deuteronomy, to Genesis to prove his point. And that teaches us that this book is huge. It's got some deep theological truths for all time. And Pope John Paul II did the same thing. When he gave us the theology of the body, he looked to the book of Genesis and said, the story of Adam and Eve can tell us the story of who we are meant to be. God made them male and female, complementary, and it was not an accident. The male body complements the female body. The two are meant to come together to become one flesh and to be fruitful and multiply. It's all right there in the book of Genesis, and I think it's a timely message because today, like the time of Jesus, marriage is under attack. People are trying to redefine marriage. Today they want to say it can be between two men or two women, or it can be between multiple partners. But like Jesus, we need to look back at the book of Genesis and see God's original intention was male and female, that they would come together when they are ready to welcome children, that they would become one flesh, and they would be fruitful and multiply. And in so doing, the married couple, the family, images the Trinity like nothing else can. St. Augustine told us that the Holy Spirit is the love between the Father and the Son. That the Trinity is a communion of persons. The Father loves the Son so passionately and vice versa, that love itself is a third person, is the Holy Spirit. And so when a man and woman come together, they're called to image the Trinity. The man and the woman are to give themselves to each other so fully, so faithfully, so fruitfully, so freely, that love produces a third, a child. Their love takes on flesh in a child. That's the idea. That's the Catholic theology of marriage, that a man and woman would come together and image the Trinity by welcoming a child. It's beautiful, and it's a deep, profound call. It's why the family is so much under attack today, and it's why matrimony is so sacred and always has to be sacred. So God really isn't asking the unthinkable of us. He doesn't want us to cuddle up with a porcupine. He doesn't want us to bear the attacks of a buzzard in the middle of the night. God is waiting for one man to find one woman when the time is right, that they may enter into the sacrament of matrimony and welcome children, that the two may become three and may image the Holy Trinity of God and bring God to our world like nothing else can. It's good news. And may God give you peace.